about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So if it takes you months to get in with your doctor, if your copay is ridiculous and your deductible is ridiculously high, should you just go to one of these labs that is selling labs that you could do on your own without a doctor and go pay for them yourself and buy your own lab work? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Well, it depends, okay? It's not that I can't give you a straight answer. It's good in one respect, but it could be an issue in another respect. So one thing I'm seeing now with patients is they'll call up for telemedicine and they'll have an issue, a chronic cough or some abdominal pain or whatever, and I'll ask, when was your last physical? Now, the most common answer is before COVID. Next most common answer is, I saw a doctor and everything was fine. Oh, so you saw your primary care doctor, you saw your gynecologist, you saw your internist? No. I was at the urgent care. And they put the stethoscope on my heart, on my chest, so they listened to my heart and lungs. I'm good. Did you have an EKG? Did you have a chest x-ray? Did you have blood work? Nope. Another response I'm getting is, I did labs at a health fair. They're good. I go, oh, that's great. So they check your cholesterol and your liver, your kidneys, and no, I think they finger pricked my finger. Okay. A comprehensive physical is a comprehensive physical. Now, I understand there's a lot of people out there that perform medicine half-assed, where they aren't even listening to your heart. And that's why patients are like, do I really have to go and see, somebody? They're only going to spend 2 seconds with me. Doctors did that to themselves. But nowadays, you can go to LabCorp, you could, I think also Quest, I think you could go to these labs and buy your own panel. And there's different panels. They will not bill insurance because they can't. But for cash, you could do an STD test. You could do a pregnancy test. You could do a diabetes test. Now, if you are the type of person that never flipping goes to the doctor, and you need a wake-up call, I like the idea that at least it's a baby step. At least you're going to do something. But without a medical provider's oversight, are you doing the right tests? And one issue I'm seeing is people will now have a lab result, and they won't know where to go with it. So they will say, well, look, so my liver enzyme is high. Now what? Okay, well, how was your hepatitis panel? I didn't do one. Well, if your liver enzymes are high, we need to check your hepatitis panel. We need to check your ferritin, your iron level. We need to probably ultrasound. Who ordered the tests? Oh, I did. I just went and bought my own lab work. Okay, so you need to go in and get seen. I don't have a doctor. That's why I'm calling telemedicine. And so one thing you need to be aware of. Now, that doesn't mean to not get the knowledge. Okay, I want you to know if you have an abnormal liver test or an abnormal kidney function test. I mean, I don't want you to just keep your head in the sand because you don't have a doctor. But you need to be aware that just because you go and do a blood test on your own, that doesn't qualify for a doctor visit. I think my intro to the show is listening to me or asking me a question does not qualify as a medical visit. I remember doing that back in 2009, and people were laughing, and I'm like, don't laugh. People said I talked to a doctor. I'm good. They'll tell their wife, you know what? I talked to Dr. Daliah. She said I was fine. That actually happened where somebody called in the middle of the night, not for the show, but as a patient, and they were having chest pain. And I was telling her, you need to go to the ER. You're having chest pain. Well, instead, she told her husband, she said, I just have to take my nitroglycerin. Okay, I'll take my nitroglycerin and call you back in 5 minutes. Now, this is in the middle of the night. And I'm like, no, go to the ER. Answering service calls me back 5 minutes later. The patient is back. I go, did you go to the ER? No, but I still have chest pain. I'm like, go to the ER. So the next morning, her husband comes in saying, why didn't you tell my wife to go to the hospital? I said, I did. I told her. He said, no, you told her she only had to take her nitroglycerin. So I'm like, she lied. And who were my witnesses? Well, my husband was asleep. The baby was asleep. I have to be in privacy because of HIPAA. I had no witnesses. So after that, I was like, everybody goes to the ER in the middle of the night if you're having chest pain. Don't even call me. Won't happen. Because I'm not going to let you lie and saying, I just told you to take nitro. But so a concern I have is many people will say, oh, yeah, I had a physical. I did my blood work. It's all good. Now, what if you do get your blood work and your blood work is normal, the normal range? Well, we spoke about this regarding your prostate test. Prostate normal range is what, under 4? So let's say your number is 2.3 for your PSA. Yeah, that's in the normal range. But what was it 6 months ago? What was it a year ago? If it was 0.5 or 0.9 and now it jumped all the way to 2.3, okay, there's an issue. And so one thing we do as medical providers is we look at the range. We look at what has happened over time. Is your TSH changing? Is your sugar changing? Are your liver enzymes changing? Is your kidney function changing? Yeah, it might be in the normal range, but maybe it was different. Same thing with blood. You could be losing blood. If I see a certain percentage of drop in your I'm not lazy. I don't just look for H or L for high or low or green or red. I actually read the numbers. And if I see that your numbers are different and dropping, that could be a sign that you have a GI bleed or cancer. So getting a blood work is a great first step if you don't have a doctor, but don't substitute that for actually going and seeing a doctor or seeing a medical provider. Because just because a random panel that you decide to buy on your own is normal doesn't mean you're completely in the clear. Now, another issue patients are telling me is the doctor redoes it. They have abnormal labs. They go to the doctor. Well, the doctor cannot get the insurance to pay for the fancier next step tests if there's no proof the basic one was done. So the doctor will redo the labs. If they're still abnormal, then run the higher labs. So you might be paying twice. So first try and see a medical provider. If you can't, yes, there is that option of buying blood work. But keep in mind, you got to have somebody help you with the results. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So I think it's about time somebody really looks deeper into what's going on with our colleges. We have realized it was just a money pit for years, but I didn't realize how much of a money pit. Apparently back in 2018, I think I'm being told $1.3 trillion went to colleges. Really? No, 1.068 trillion. Federal. Oh, okay. That was both federal and non-federal funding went to colleges and universities. 1.068 trillion. And they're asking us to pay off the student loan debt. That's kind of a lot of money. Meanwhile, I think back in 2023, $174 billion went to colleges and universities from the government. Billion. UPenn, I think, gets over a billion in federal funding a year. UPenn alone. Now, Trump wants to pause 175 million of it, and everybody's losing their mind. They get $1 billion a year. And that's just one single baby university. I'm blown away. It's a lot of money. Now, what is this money going to? Well, they say it goes to grants, underserved students, work-study programs. Some of the money funds research. So if you're going to do a study on rats turning transgender, we'll help pay for that. Because it's a university-funded study, we're killing two birds with one stone. We're doing science, as well as giving you guys money. Doesn't matter what the results are. Doesn't matter if you don't get any results from it. Just we need to look like we are funding something that has to do with the narrative. And if your university can do a study for that, you get the money. I was told by one university that they would hire me if I get grant money from the government. So basically, bring up a study that they want that they'll pay for. You would think if I help do research in cancer, don't you think they want that? And so it's a game. Now, Trump, from what we understand, may be pausing $175 million in federal funding because UPenn allegedly may not be following the executive order on biological males competing in women's sports. According to a senior administration official who spoke with Fox Business, Trump paused $175 million in federal funding to the university. It's still far from the total funding. They still receive $1 billion, so I think they're going to survive. But the pause appears to be not 100%, but it appears to be in relation to Leah Thomas's inclusion on the university swim team. Thomas, a biological male, was not doing well on the boys' teams, transitioned, started competing on the girls' team, and then won an NCAA title in the women's 500-yard freestyle event in 2022. So according to the senior official, he said UPenn infamously permitted a male to compete on its women's swim team, overturning multiple records hard-earned by women and granting the fully intact male access to the locker room. This is not the result of the Title IX investigation launched by the Department of Education. UPenn is still at risk of losing all their federal education program funds because of these investigations. This is immediate proactive action to review discretionary funding streams to those universities. Now, let's say a university is following the laws. $1 billion. $1 billion to UPenn. See, this is why I said we can very easily do free college junior and senior year high school. where students' school is the mornings are their core classes. None of this 50-minute class, 20, 30 minutes, because the kids stop paying attention after that time anyway. All their core classes, math, history, English, everything they need done in the mornings. For lunch, they can either eat on campus or off campus because, people don't like to get bullied in the cafeteria. Then the afternoons are all the practical learning, starting as early from kindergarten, first grade, all the way through sophomore year. Depending on their age, they get access and learning, and they go through these rotations, learning farming, learning plumbing, learning about electricians, learning about law, scientist, teacher, business, stockbroker. They learn how to hunt. They learn how to fish. They learn how to cultivate crops. They learn self-defense. They learn practical things so that the time they are all 16 years old, one, they know first aid. They know CPR. They know how to protect themselves. They know how to survive with shelter, how to fish, how to hunt, how to feed themselves. Because they learn that all in school. Learn a second language. There's so much time in the afternoons. And by the way, none of this 3 months for summer vacation. That's BS. You could have some time off in the summer, but not 3 months. There's so much you could learn. Not to mention these classes, these rotations are fun. It's practical stuff. Then, by the time they're 16, they graduate high school. Then, when they're 17 and 18, junior and senior year, is you getting a certification in plumbing, mechanic, electrician, or your associate's degree. So everybody, by the time they turn 18, have at least an associate's degree, or they have their trade training, at least the basics. And then by the time they're 18, they could go out into the world and either go get more training or start apprenticing. And they're pretty well-rounded. Imagine if that's how we changed education. No, Dr. Daliah, we can't afford that. We can't afford to do free college. Why? Is it because we give UPenn $1 billion? And that's just one flipping university? You can't tell me that let's convert junior and senior year. I mean, most high school students are sitting there smoking and vaping and blowing teachers off. But what if that's those 2 years are you getting a trade or you getting your associate's degree? I'm sure they're going to pay attention. So, and you're already paying for high school for those 2 years. Finish high school at age 16, 17 and 18 still required, but it's the practical training for real life. And we're more well-rounded. But here we are giving these universities billions. Now, are we giving these universities billions because they don't charge tuition? They do. The average person going to UPenn is spending tens of thousands of dollars a year. Average person going to Harvard is spending, what, $60 a year? So, yeah, they might be helping some who are underserved. But if you asked people who are starving, who are homeless, do they really want that money going to UPenn? Or could that money be better spent on the VA? Or helping the homeless get into apartments and get jobs? Or curing cancer? That's just a lot of money. And these universities, wow, they have their grip on the government. And they squeeze when they get mad. And I think it's about time somebody really looks into this. Whether it's because of what's happening to women in sports, whether it's because it's just a waste of money, somebody look into this. And Title IX, I mean, I worked in academia. If you at all violated Title IX, you were fired on the spot. You can't expose yourself to somebody. You can't be doing dirty jokes. You can't be soliciting or making people feel uncomfortable. Not allowing them the privacy they need. That's all a part of Title IX. And then all of a sudden, no, it's okay. It's okay because we're letting transgender individuals get a pass. Okay, you're confusing people. and explain to me why these Ivy League and these very expensive, well sought out universities get so much money. You know, helping an underserved person go through college is nice, but I'd rather see that money go to a blind child or a homeless veteran. That's just me. 1-877-Daliah. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Yeah, took me a while. It's very hard to spell and read at the same time. One of our listeners wants to know what's happening with the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. Are they going to also get slashed? The articles they're reading are conflicting. This is from what I understand. Every department has to show that they're cutting back. Every department has to show, including Social Security. We're going to be talking about that in a second. But every department has to show, especially IRS, that they're taking cuts. Trump does not want to show favoritism, even though usually in Republican terms, there's more spending on defense. In terms of minimizing the government and deflating it, every department has to show that they're doing cuts. So everybody had to supply a framework and a timeline on how they were going to cut a certain amount of jobs. And I believe that the Pentagon is having a goal of cutting 5 to 8% of their civilian workforce. Now, to cut 50 to 60,000 people in their civilian workforce, it could affect the military. All right. You do not want members of the military, when they're already having issues recruiting and having enough members of the military, to now have to do civilian jobs. The reason why we have civilian jobs in our Department of Defense is to free people in the military up so they don't have to also be doing these other jobs. You could have civilians do a lot of these other jobs. And let's say somebody really, really wants to serve, but they can only do executive assistant or secretarial work or mechanic work, or I'm sure there's a place for them. But for the most part, when you have analysts and medical, there's so many things that they may not be able to rely on their enlisted men and women for, that they have a civilian workforce, and a pretty large civilian workforce. So how would the Pentagon do it? Well, they're being smart about it. Okay. Luckily, Pete Hegseth has Trump's ear, and my guess is his plan is enough for Trump and Doge to not say, well, just start to fire randomly. You can't fire randomly. Now, with the Department of Education or U.S. aid, if they thought it was contaminated and there's a lot of fraud, then those moves are going to be much more machete, much more just larger, less precise. But with the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, you got a lot of departments there. So what we understand is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to not replace workers who routinely leave. So that's going to show a cut, which is very, very smart. So people retire every month. People retire every year. Apparently thousands do. So if they're retiring, they're not going to replace them. And that's good because somebody retiring has to transition out. There has to be somebody else taking over that job. So it's not going to necessarily cause an earthquake of chaos where somebody who's retiring is leaving. Also, a good number of individuals decided to take the deal to retire early or get paid through September and not come back to work. So those numbers get counted. And then they canceled contracts. Apparently, Doge said they canceled 47 contracts with a ceiling value of $185 million. Those contracts will also represent savings of about $90 million, according to Doge. And then in terms of probationary employees, those hired under a year may be at risk if those departments are not mission critical. But if they're already kind of understaffed, they may be able to keep their job. Probation could last a year, could last 2 years, or you could be probationary because mostly probationary is used in terms of just your time there where you're on probation, until you reach a certain amount of time of working. But it could also be people that are maybe troublemakers, not very good employees. Those individuals could be first on the chopping block. So I don't think it's going to be as disruptive as people feel what happened with USAID, although with USAID, if there was fraud and waste and abuse, they had to do what they had to do. But from what I understand, the IRS, who was going to hire 88,000, didn't Biden want 88,000 employees? IRS is going to lose 18,000 of them. Now, that I don't know if all 88,000 people got hired during Biden's term. I know he set out to hire more IRS agents, but 18,000 will leave. And so, those moves are what got Trump elected. They believe government is too big. And they believe federal workers have had kind of cush jobs where they got to work at home. These federal buildings completely empty and we're paying for the rent. And so if somebody can't explain why their 8 full hours of work is really productive, they're not going to last. But I understand people are very, very worried about the Department of Defense. I am too. And it looks like the easiest thing for them to do is, one, not hire the thousands that they usually hire. I think they hire about 6,000 a month. So if they stop hiring that, they're already lowering the amount. So I forget how many thousands they hire a month. And then if you don't hire and you let the people retire and not replace them, then you're already saving on jobs. So we'll see what happens, but that's the latest and the greatest. Social Security, you're going to see a lot of media articles saying Social Security is going to hurt so many individuals. So what's happening is Elon Musk and Doge found we had 300-year-olds on the Social Security list, 150-year-olds, dead people. So they need to know who the hell is behind the name that's getting Social Security. So in an effort to limit fraudulent claims, there's going to be tighter identity proofing measures. Yahoo News said that beginning March 31st, you will no longer be able to verify your identity over a telephone. You can use the online service. The agency's My Social Security online service can be used. Or you will be required to visit an agency field office in person to complete the verification process. This will apply to new Social Security applicants and existing recipients who want to change their direct deposit information. So I believe if you're already fine with your direct deposit and in the system, you don't have to stop and do this. But a new Social Security applicant will have to verify who they are. Why? Because there's been waste, fraud, and abuse. People are mad at Elon Musk. Be mad at the people who committed waste, fraud, and abuse. Be mad at the criminals. That's who you should be mad at. Now, some advocates are saying this is going to negatively impact older Americans in rural areas, those with disabilities, mobility limitations, who have limited internet access. Yes, I understand not everybody has the internet. But if you are in the process of applying for Social Security, so here's the thing. For if you are not of Social Security age and you are having a medical issue, in order to get that verification, oftentimes you do have to go to a medical provider. So you're already outside of your home, or somebody is inside the home verifying this. Most of the time you have to go to the doctor. They examine you, they fill out the paperwork. So if you are able to go to the doctor or have a means, hopefully those individuals can also help you make one extra trip. And I don't want to see people have to be running all over the city, but these media articles make it sound like new people going on to Social Security are homebound and paralyzed, and not everybody. And I'm sure there are accommodations for certain individuals that show proof. But I hear this all the time. People are like, oh, I can't get, ID. I can't go get ID. But you just went to Costco. I don't understand that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we have a study from Harvard, but I'll still convey it. And no shock, they say telemedicine could help reduce unnecessary health tests. I really have a bone to pick with that phrase, unnecessary health tests. If I'm ordering a test, it is 500% necessary. 500% may be unnecessary. I could have said 100%. But the health test I'm ordering, necessary. But Harvard said there's unnecessary tests and telemedicine may be the cure for that. Really? Thank you. We really needed you to step in and dilute the art of medicine that I trained really hard for, by the way, and not at Harvard. So they say there's new evidence that telemedicine can help reduce the cost of low-value tests. According to researchers from Mass General Brigham, an affiliate of Harvard Medical School, low-value care consists of medical tests and procedures that provide little to no benefit to patients. Well, if there was a low-value test, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't run it. According to lead author Ishani Ganguly from Brigham and Women's Hospital, they say, in theory, widespread adoption of telemedicine post-pandemic may influence low-value testing, such as pap smears and prostate cancer screenings in older adults. Whoa. A pap smear is low value? Cancer screening is low value? And imaging scans for straightforward cases of low back pain. Oh, I'll give you a straightforward case. We had a patient where they had neck and back pain, and it was prostate cancer that metastasized to the neck and back. And you know how we figured that out? Because they came into my ER that I was working at, and I ordered an x-ray. Low value, my ass. They say telemedicine. Sorry, this really ticks me off. They say telemedicine or telehealth uses technology to provide healthcare services remotely without going to a clinic. Yep, you get to call the doctor. Look, I think it's fantastic helping individuals in rural counties and areas where they might not be able to get a doctor or they need immediate advice. But for the love of the Lord, you are not going to convince me that talking to a provider over a telephone who is not ordering the test because the patient is giving them a history of, oh, yeah, I just have a headache because I need glasses. It's just eye strain. Meanwhile, they could be having a tumor or high blood pressure or something else. Sorry. Okay, you better think wisely before you start to tell me a pap smear or a prostate cancer screening or an x-ray is low value. Now, the study was published in JAMA Internal Medicine. Patients who used telemedicine had slightly more total visits, both virtual and in person, than those in systems with less telemedicine. They also underwent fewer unnecessary tests in 7 out of 20 categories: cervical cancer screening, heart and metabolic tests, and imaging for simple back pain. Overall, patients in high telemedicine systems spent less on visits per person and on 2 of the unnecessary tests, but their total spending on low-value tests remained similar. Well, of course, if you're seeing a doctor over a telephone, you know, they're obviously not going to be doing the exam. Okay, that's a duh. We know that. That's not really earth-shattering. How much did the government spend on this study? Now, the reason why we are having headlines saying cervical cancer is now being discovered higher stage in many women is because they're not going in for their pap smears. And a pap smear takes a sample of cells in the cervix and sends it to the lab. We also can do STD screening. We could also be there to provide support if somebody is being assaulted. We also examine other parts of the body. Check them for UTIs, check them for their kidney function. Talk to them about sexual dysfunction. Look for abnormal moles. Check for rectal cancer. You notice there's headlines saying colorectal cancer is on the rise. You know how many times we examine and check the area of the rectum when we do pap smears? A good doctor looks at the whole area all the time. I mean, every single exam. Yet we're hearing young individuals are having higher cases of colorectal cancer and advanced cases. So please explain to me what low-value test you're talking about. What test is low value? So the reason why telemedicine is so huge is 1, because of COVID, 2, because insurance companies are saving money. Even with my crappy insurance, it says I could see a teledoc provider for $0 copay, but the second I want to go into a doctor and get an exam, it's going to be at least $45 in the door. So, of course, people are like, well, good, so I'll call Teladoc. But when you call Teladoc, are you telling them every single one of your symptoms? Are they examining you? Are they touching your skin? Are they probing and checking your organs? Oh, I love telemedicine because I don't have to get naked. All right, well, if you have a melanoma growing on your ass, nobody's going to see that. Remember I told you somebody came in asking for a refill of their Prozac, and they were in a hurry, and I said, look, well, let's just set up your physical. And while she's talking, and, because I asked her a little bit more about why she's using Prozac, I'm looking at her neck, and I go, your neck looks funny to me. Can I feel your thyroid? Sure, but I'm in a hurry. I just want my refill. And her thyroid felt a little off. Well, it turns out she had thyroid cancer. When she did let me do her physical and I ran some blood work, it turns out she also had blood cancer. But all she came in for was a refill of her Prozac. And that's what people are calling telemedicine for. I just want a refill of my Prozac. Why the hell nobody before me examined her, I don't know. Who's checking you for aneurysms? Who's checking your heart? So yes, with the advent of telemedicine, healthcare companies are, we are saving bucks. We're seeing fewer CAT scans and prostate screens and blood work. This is wonderful. In fact, as we talked about with the show earlier, people are paid for their own lab work. Their deductibles are so damn high that they're like, you know what? I'll pay for it ourselves. Which, by the way, that's another reason why there's fewer tests. Because people's deductibles are so high, they can't afford to go to the doctor. So be very careful when you see these headlines. We are saving money. We are saving money. Look at how we are saving money. Well, if somebody doesn't go to the doctor, yeah. If somebody's not getting their colonoscopy and they're doing Cologuard, yeah, that is going to save the insurance company money. If somebody's using telemedicine and not going into the doctor, yeah. And if they're not getting tests done, yeah. But when I'm seeing headlines and studies saying cancer is rising and being found at a higher stage because people aren't going into the doctor, you're not going to convince me, Harvard, that that's good and that a pap smear is a low-value test. It's ridiculous. They're not going to care about you or your abuela or your niece or nephew. This is all about saving money. And when you are, in a hospital bed, what does the doctor do? Do they congratulate you for saving money all these years? Or do they say, why the hell didn't you come in sooner? Why did you let this go? When was your last physical? You're not going to get a gold star for saving the insurance company money. But you'll get a gold star from me if you caught something early. So get yourselves checked out. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.